We miscommunicating, I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining, nah, I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in layman's. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station. Same shit, different day, I'm just trying to get paid. Yeah. I'ma stay in the shade so they can't see my face. Yeah. Only blow if I know that I got the right strain. Yeah. When I blow, then I know that I did it my way. Yeah. Everybody asks me why I'm up so late, man. They think I'm insane, I just wanna create, man. No angel dust till the boy cremated. In heaven with Mr. Cobain, dated. But that's not for a long time. Cardi for the long nights, party for the hard times. On time at the wrong time. Why the fuck would I try to quantize my jawline? Speeding on the feeder cause I promised I'd be on time. And I said it last time, it's gotta be the last time. You can play this song if you ever got a bad vibe. Say I'm acting moody cause I've been stuck like Mad Eye. We miscommunicating, I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining, nah, I'm not complaining.
Can you hear me now? Yes, you can. Well, huh. How you guys going? How you guys doing today? Sorry about that technical difficulty. Hello, my name is Daniel, and this is episode 60 of the Engineering Success Podcast. I am so happy that you are watching or listening and whatever platform that you're doing that on. I really appreciate it. Before I get into my life update, I need to give a shout out to two very special people, two very, very special people, John Ott and Leroy Jenkins. Thank you so much for being top tier supporters of the podcast. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. If you also want to join them in getting a shout out at the beginning of every episode of the podcast, $10 a month. I know it's a lot. Engineering Success Podcast, Netflix, I would pick Engineering Success Podcast personally over Netflix, but I also don't personally have a Netflix subscription. But $10 a month, it really helps me out. That money I put back into the podcast in the form of paying for my website, www.engringsuccess.com, and my email address where you can contact me if you or somebody that is your client wants to be a guest on the podcast, daniel@engringsuccess.com. Just shoot me a note if you want to be a guest or if you have a question, anything you want me to answer on the podcast. We're going to do a lot of questions today. It's a mailbag episode this time. I've accumulated some of my favorite engineering career questions, engineering college questions. They're relevant, they're good questions, and we'll run through them. But yeah, life is good. I cannot complain at all. Things are going really well for us here in Charlotte. We're really getting settled in. We're making friends at church. Um, we have some friends that are coming in town for Memorial Day weekend, and then we're gonna go back to DFW to celebrate baby E's birthday. So yeah, lots of really exciting things, developments going on here. I'll some developments that I can talk about, some developments I can't talk about as much, but yeah, things are going really well here. We're very optimistic about the future here in the Dollinger household. So really appreciate your support of the podcast and for listening in. Also, we have hit 716 subscribers on YouTube, which is exciting. That means that we are almost 3/4 of the way towards achieving our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Now, if I get 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do some kind of giveaway. Don't know what yet, but I'm going to come up with some form of giveaway for you guys to commemorate the 1,000 subs. And then also another thing we're going to do to celebrate 1,000 subs. Well, when we get the watch hour requirement to be monetized on YouTube, we'll do another giveaway as well. Again, don't know quite what that giveaway is going to be yet, but I'll think of it when we get there. But yeah, thank you so much for the support, and let's jump right into it after a little breather.
We miscommunicating, I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining, nah, I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain.
And we're back. We're going to start with an interview question of the week. Thank you so much to Mel P for suggesting that we do an interview question of the week. And this week's interview question of the week is a new one for me. It was pitched in by a listener of the podcast, actually, and it's one that I haven't seen before, and I definitely didn't have to answer before because I've only worked at one place. But is the question is there anything else that we could tell you that would prevent you from leaving your current employer, or to help you overcome the hurdle of leaving your current job for this new job? So this is a good question for a manager or a potential manager to ask a candidate, because if you're trying to poach somebody from another company, you definitely, as the manager, want to make sure that you communicate everything that you possibly can to make the best possible case to get this person to come to your company. And so let's answer this question, though, from the perspective of the person receiving the question. So maybe likely this is something that you've gotten from a technical person, a person that maybe is interviewing you, not necessarily an HR question, more of like a, hey, we're trying to get you to join our team question. Maybe there's a technical manager that's really pushing for you. And my first thought is this the right person to have your conversations around benefits and compensation with? I think you can preface every question that answer to this question with the sense of, well, contingent on, the benefits package being good, which if you haven't gotten it at that point in time, you probably should ask for it. And then also the compensation being good, which you probably haven't discussed compensation in detail at that point in time. Now this is where you ask all the other questions. At this point, if you haven't seen The Office yet, hey, can I come see The Office? Hey, if you haven't met the team yet, hey, can I meet the team? So figure out if you like the environment that you're going to work in, the people that you're going to work in, and then make sure you have a really good understanding about your roles and responsibilities and the people that you'd be interacting with, what your interface points would be in the role. Just basically, I think this is the time to make sure that you ask all the questions you possibly can to get a really good understanding of the boundaries of your role. So where your work responsibilities begin, where your work responsibilities end, what kind of work-life balance you're going to have, what kind of opportunities you're going to have for growth. That is where you ask those questions. So it's a really good question, and I think if I got asked this question in an interview, it would definitely catch me off guard. But me personally, I would use this time to make sure that I am fully understanding of what I might be walking into by leaving my current employer and taking that job. So that's how I would answer the question. Is there anything else that we could tell you that would help you prevent taking your counter offer, or prevent you from basically, if we give you a good offer, what do we do? What is there anything else we can tell you to make you make the switch? And that's a really tough question to answer. And I do encourage people, if you're a hiring manager and you're really trying to approach hiring somebody, that's a really good question to ask. All right, well, let's get into the next segment of the pod, LinkedIn lunatics. This one is, we're just going to do one this week. I had a couple queued up, but really I think that there's one that's really good, and it's really relevant nowadays with some states making some requirements on what kind of salary transparency and all that kind of stuff. So here's the one. Mic drop, punchline, or whatever it is. Agree? Here's the post. This is a salary range, 155,000 to 75,000. This is not a salary range, 155,000 to 325,000. That's it. That's the post. Hashtag resume writing. Hashtag salary range. Hashtag truth. And they posted this one into LinkedIn Lunatics, I guess, presuming that this person who made this post was a lunatic. But I would actually say this is a great post. This is a really good post on her part, because the thing is that is not a salary range. If you were in a situation where you're saying that your salary range goes across I don't know, $200,000, then it's not really much of a salary range at all, really. So yeah, no, this is not a lunatic post. I think that the only people that are lunatics in this situation are the companies that are trying to skirt salary transparency laws by saying that their company pays somewhere between and some ridiculous range of what, 200,000. That's not a salary range. A salary range is much more concise than that. So, not a lunatic for our first question. So, thank you so much for that post, Robin Story. I may follow you on LinkedIn because it's apparently a social media site and not a job networking site where you only connect with people that you know. Okay, let's get into the college questions of the podcast. Here we go. They say, should I get a double major? Let me make myself a little bit bigger here. Should I get a double major? So I'm currently a freshman working towards a degree in civil engineering and was interested in possibly double majoring. My university offers a double major in civil engineering and construction management. I don't know if it would be worth doing. I would like to get a double major, but only if it's worth it. Any advice? Well, I would say that it would only be worth it to the extent that you are interested in doing construction management for a civil engineering firm. I'll be honest, I'm not the expert here on things civil engineering. I did work in construction. I'm not the expert on things construction management, but you know, uh, will it get you more jobs? I I wouldn't say that it would get you one more than the other. For example, if you're trying to get a job as a construction manager, I don't think that the double in civil will help you get that job, unless it's maybe a civil firm. Maybe it helps you out a little bit. And if you wanted to get a job as a civil engineer, and then I don't think the construction management will do as much for you. I mean, it will do just as much for you as just having your base degree. Maybe it'll help you out a little bit getting that first job, but then after that, it's really about what you know and what you learned on the job. And you can become a construction manager with a civil engineering degree without the construction management double. I don't know if you can necessarily become a civil engineer with a construction management degree. In fact, I think that you couldn't, but I'm not the expert on construction management degrees. But yeah, I mean, I my thought on double majoring as an engineer is if you know what you want to do, then just pick the one and then do that. And I would probably pick in this case the civil engineering one, just because it seems like it's a little bit more versatile of the two majors. Let's see what the chat had to say. They said, I don't think a double major would help much unless it were basically no additional time. I view a year of experience more valuable than double major. So yeah, definitely don't delay your graduation to pursue this double major. That's a really good piece of advice. Okay, so that's the first question. Let's go into the next one. Ooh, this one is, I had some thoughts about this one. Okay, Charlie Kirk, a right wing talking head, claims engineers can graduate in 18 months if colleges don't make them take useless classes. Thoughts? He was thinking about how expensive college is and how it's mostly a scam. He mentioned that they should shorten college programs to 3 years and that engineers can be done with school in 18 months. For the record, he doesn't have an engineering background. Edit. Thoughts? And there's a link to the video. Okay, let's watch it. Ooh, I was being ambitious here. 1 second. Here we go. Let's watch it over from the beginning. Wow. Well, looks like the audio is not coming through because I'm an idiot. But if you watch the live stream, you're going to see all these technical glitches. But if you watch the YouTube video, then you will see by the magic of time, and if you're listening to the podcast, by the magic of editing, that this will be super seamless. But here we go. All right, let's watch the video.
I'm a strong proponent of higher education, whether that be trade school
Yep.
or college, but also on that same note, I do not think every degree needs to be taught in school? Do you think we need to restructure our education system in a way that benefits industry?
I think college is largely a scam. We have way too many kids going to college. I'm sure all of you, if I said, how many of you are forced to take classes that you think are a complete waste of your time, money? Everyone's hand goes up, right? Yeah, exactly. You're paying way too much money. You're spending way too much time here. So if you want to study engineering, you could actually get an engineering degree in like 18 months. You don't need to get it in 4 years. There's so many different ideas. The best one that I have is make college 3 years, not 4 years. You'll all save 25% immediately, and you'll get into the job market 1 year earlier. You don't need the degree as much as you think. You might say, oh, no one will hire me. That's not true. That's increasingly less true. Employers are hiring more and more young people with good ethics, strong character, and an ability to scrap and hustle. One of my concerns with college is it creates lazier people.
I'm a strong proponent of higher education.
Okay, so now let me preface this by saying I don't disagree with everything that he has to say, and I won't comment on other things that he has to say on this topic. I think that largely there are a lot of jobs that can be done without a 4-year degree, but engineering is not the example that I would pick as something that could be done in 18 years. And I think he just did that to be, I don't know, controversial or whatever. But no, I don't think you could get the engineering degree in 18 months. I mean, maybe if you were taking, I don't know, 2 classes at a time and you took 8 hours of class a day, so 4 hours a day in each one of these classes, and you took each of those classes for a month. All right. No, not even then. No, you couldn't. No. Okay. Yeah, and then you took no breaks at all whatsoever. So how many classes did I take in my engineering? No, you can't. Like, that's the thing is there's so many prerequisites and co-requisites. The experience builds upon itself. I mean, maybe you could do like a college cram course in 18 months to get through most of an engineering program, but it would kill you mentally. It would drive you absolutely insane. Now, could you graduate with an engineering degree in 3 years? Yeah, maybe if your program was structured you'd have to really structure your program to try to make it possible to graduate in 3 years. And you'd have to also come into college already having taken probably calculus 1 and 2, already having taken physics 1 and 2, already taken chemistry. Like you'd have to already have all of your prerequisites and the classes that most people have to take. Like most people don't take calculus-based physics in high school. And that's 2 semesters of physics right there. And maybe you could cram them both into 1 semester, but that would be insane. There's so much to learn. And engineering is just not the degree that would work for this, in my opinion. It's just there's too much to learn. Honestly, it's hard enough to squeeze it into 4 years, and if you're graduating early, you're hurting yourself. Also, other comment about this is that he says that a lot of classes are a scam. And for example, I took a class in economics. Okay, I love that class in economics so much that, and people would say, "Oh, is that relevant to engineering?" Well, yes, first of all, it is. All engineers have to take an engineering economics course, but Charlie might not think that that's relevant. But here I am 5 years into my career, and now my engineering firm is trying to negotiate a rate increase with one of our clients, and we're having to use escalation indices, and I'm having to use my engineering economics to justify increases in our cost of services to one of our clients. And that interest in economics and that taking the economics course actually inspired me to get an economics minor. And I took a course in environmental economics where I learned about how tax incentives and how governments will drive certain behaviors with regards to environmental policy by doing economic policy and by creating financial incentives. And then sure enough, now I work for a company who our clients are now using those credits to fund and to get FID for their projects. And now we as a contractor are having to help them navigate that process. So it's all actually you don't think it's relevant because I'm not doing physics or I'm not doing math or I'm not doing thermo or whatever, but having that well-rounded education. I took a religion course and now I'm more well-rounded and have a better understanding on religions. And sure enough, I work in a company that has people of all different religious backgrounds and I have a much better understanding and relation to where those people are at and their religious beliefs. I mean, Charlie thinks that a lot of these courses aren't relevant, and yes, I will argue that there are many ways that colleges have increased their prices and made college generally unaffordable and people are taking out student loans and it's very difficult. I get all that, but generally, well-rounded people make better teammates. So I'm kind of mixed on this, but pulling all that back, can an engineering degree be done in 18 months? No. No, I don't think an engineering degree. Maybe if you have a very precise program, you can definitely do a engineering technician program in 18 months, but and we need people to do that too, but not the academic engineering degree that many people that call themselves engineers have. Okay. Well, that was a good one. Let's get into the next one. Should I get a master's? They say, I have an undergrad degree in physics and a math minor. I really want to get a good job in engineering, and I'm thinking about going to school for mechanical engineering. Can I get a good job with a bachelor's, or should I do a master's? My parents said they would help me out with paying for the master's. Well, kind for them. Could you get a good job with a degree in physics and a math minor? Yeah, you could. You could. In fact, I know people that got physics degrees and then went on to work as engineers and get alternate certification and even become professional engineers. And I would say that some of the smartest people that I've ever met all have physics degrees. Now, will you be able to easily get a job as an engineer? No. No. In fact, I don't know why you would get a job as an engineer. Could you get a job as like an analyst or a consultant supporting an engineering firm? Possibly. Yes, especially if you have a good work ethic and you're knowledgeable, but it may be difficult for you to get an engineering job. In fact, I'd argue that you probably couldn't get an engineering job. But that being said, you said, should I get a master's? If you want to work as an engineer, yeah. Yeah, and you could get a master's. I feel like your physics degree and your math minor, you have the foundation. Maybe you have to do a couple coursework, a couple classes to get started in your master's program. Maybe you have to take like a thermo class or whatever to get yourself grounded, especially depending on what kind of physics you studied and what kind of master's program it is. It will really depend on what that is. Okay, you said mechanical engineering. So if you did a bunch of, physical physics, maybe you're close. I don't know what prereqs or co-reqs would be required to start your master's program, but you could definitely do the master's for engineering. And if you want to work as an engineer, yeah, do it. Do it. Definitely do it. I know actually have a good friend here in Charlotte that I go to church with that he went to a small school, got a physics major, and then went and got his master's in I think mechanical engineering, just like you described. And now he works as a mechanical engineer. So yeah, if you want to become a mechanical engineer, you can get the master's and you should. So that's what I have to say about that. Next one. Internship versus work experience. TLDR. Will getting a job as an engineering technician make it easier to get a job once I finish my bachelor's of science in electrical engineering? Or is it better to go the route for engineering internships? I recently enrolled in a 2+2 program, which means first 2 years community college, and then I'll receive my electrical engineering technology associate's degree. And then the last 2 years, I continue to the state school and receive my bachelor's of science in electrical engineering. When I'm in my last 2 years of school, should I prioritize getting engineering internships or should I work as a technician to gain more work experience? P.S. Are the roles of engineering technician more analogous to doctor, nurse, lawyer, paralegal, or is it completely different? Well, I would say porque no los dos. Why not both? Maybe work as an engineering technician during the school year and then during the summers get an engineering internship. That's what I'd say is between your last 2 years of school that summer, I would definitely prioritize getting an engineering internship. I'd say that companies that want to hire you as an electrical engineer will value your experience as a technician. And I mean, you have the degree as a technician, so maybe that community college program has a pipeline to helping you get technician jobs, and you should definitely pursue those jobs, especially if you can work them part time and stay in school. That's what I did whenever I was in school. I worked as an engineering intern in a machine shop supporting an electrical mechanical engineering genius and helping him just basically do all different types of things as his intern slash technician slash machine shop operator slash CAD designer slash prototyper slash installer. It was really cool experience, and I'm sure that as a technician, you asked if it's like analogous to a doctor nurse, not really. Laura paralegal, maybe kind of like to that, where you have somebody guiding and somebody else doing the grunt work. But yeah, no, definitely definitely try to get work as a technician, but those summers you should definitely prioritize getting your engineering internship under your belt. Oh, I actually responded to this person. Let's scroll down and see what I had to say. I'd prioritize the internships. Companies that are hiring engineers like to see that they have had an engineering internship. That being said, working as a technician is also great for your resume. So if you can't get an internship, go ahead and get a technician job. I did something similar in college. During the school year, my junior and senior year, I had an engineering internship that was mostly doing technician work under the supervision of an engineer. Somewhere between junior and senior year, I took a break from that job to do a formal internship with the company that eventually hired me after I graduated. Whoa! 20 days has passed, but yet Daniel is consistent in his answers. See, I'm not only spreading out the answers and the love here on the pod, but I'm also serving them up on Reddit. So if you want to be involved with me on Reddit, just interact on an engineering subreddit, ask a question, and I might answer. Also, speaking of which, did you know that Engineering Success has a Discord server? What? Isn't that crazy? We have a Discord server. And you say, what is a Discord server? Well, if you play video games, you should know what a Discord server is. And if you don't play video games, okay, let me educate you. A Discord server is basically a private conversation place where we can talk about different things. So, on the Engineering Success Discord server, we have questions about careers, questions about internships. We have different channels to discuss all things related to your engineering career. So, if you want to be invited to my Discord server where we talk about all things engineering careers, and we're just a bunch of experienced engineers, aspiring engineers, all collaborating together, trying to build the best engineering career, just shoot me a note at daniel@engringsuccess.com, and I'll drop you the invite link. Also, if you support me on the podcast and become a top tier supporter, I will invite you to a super secret special thread for all people that have ever been a top tier supporter. So, very exciting things going on the Engineering Success Discord server. All right. Well, let's keep going with the questions. Next one is a co-op for engineering students worth it? So basically, my university has a co-op program where we have to take a gap semester to work for one semester and the summer. Some of my seniors said you really don't have to take it since they got internships by flying privately to companies. I'm in my second year now, and my GPA is barely a 3.0. I can get it a bit higher this semester since applications to internships usually start around February. Okay, no, they don't. So this semester results will already be out. Maybe applications for your program start in February, but you should have started applying for internships in September at the latest, maybe even August, because all the best internships for the following summer fill in the previous fall. Okay, carry on. We have a recommended course pattern for my major, and some of the courses are only offered in semester 1 or 2. So I'm worried if I take a co-op and skip one semester, it may ruin the flow of courses that the university wants us to follow. Okay, since your university has a co-op program, I imagine that they would have ways to accommodate this course flow thing that you're concerned about. But if they don't, if you looked at it and you've talked to your advisor and talked to the program manager that runs the co-ops, and they don't give you a satisfying answer, then yeah, I mean, I understand the concern. I would say that having a co-op would be a really cool opportunity, and even if it delayed you by graduating by one semester, I think that that's fine, especially if you can't get another internship instead. I think that if it's going to delay you by an entire year, then that's whenever I'd be like, okay, maybe this is not worth it. But yeah, so I mean, you have a 3.0 GPA. I think you can still get internships with that. I would just not be in a situation where you skip the co-op, don't get internships, and then you have nothing whenever you're graduating. So I'm really surprised that you're concerned about the course flow whenever the program is like a university driven program. All right, let's keep scrolling. Say, from my experience and coming from a school where a ton of people take 3 to 5 co-op rotations, co-ops are even better than internships. You get so much deeper into things and come up with valuable experience and tons of spending money. I'd tend to agree with that. If my school had like a formal co-op program, I would have definitely taken advantage of it. Next comment says, for me, it was critical. I had 3 co-ops in my undergrad, and my first made me want to switch majors. I'm glad I did. My second helped me steer clear of an industry I didn't want to do, utility power. And my third got me a job right out of college, and my senior year paid for. Also helped me get a SEC clearance, opening the gateway to tons of potential new jobs. Absolutely invaluable. Um, this person, they went to Drexel, they did it, and it was a 5-year program, and it worked for them. Yeah, they did 3 co-ops though, and it took them 5 years to graduate, which is, I mean, they made money along the way. It's not like they were not making any money because of it. So, yeah, I would say if your co-op program exists and is not going to set you back substantially, I would heavily consider it. And yes, you're definitely, because you're going to be there for longer. I'll tell you this: what you can learn in 3 years on a job is nothing compared to what you can learn. Sorry, 3 weeks. Sorry, 3 months. What you can learn in 3 months on an internship is nothing compared to the level of depth that you get whenever you've been there for 6 to 9 months, like you would be able to do in a co-op. So if the co-op's an option, I think honestly it's really great, and it's a good company that has a structured co-op program, especially coordinating with university, then definitely really heavily consider the co-op route. So in your situation, if you're really concerned about the course flow, really set up with the people that run the co-op program, talk to them, share your concerns, and let them kind of assuade you of your concerns. That's what I would say. All right. Next question. All right. These are actually 2 questions that are related to one another. I'm going to read them back to back, and then I'm going to respond to them because this is a pretty common question. All right, first one goes, is social skills a necessity in the mechanical engineering work field? I like to keep to myself mostly and hate interacting with others unless I have to. I can do it, but I just prefer not to. Even in certain groups, I do most of the talking. I usually can be more laid back as I get to know the other person. So I was wondering if I should go to mechanical engineering, or maybe I should just end up taking computer science engineering. And they go on to thank everybody for the replies. The next person goes, as someone with social anxiety, is it a bad idea to pursue a career in electrical engineering? As the title says, I have social anxiety. Basically, I don't do well socially. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and I've been getting through purely on my work ethic. Would this be enough for this industry? I'm taking some high school upgrading course right now, and I'm not sure if it'd be the right choice because of my social anxiety. Anything that helps. Thank you for reading. Okay. For engineering, do you need to be a social butterfly that just thrives on human interaction, like a salesperson, or like the person that's at the front desk as a receptionist? Or do you need to be a social butterfly to be an engineer? No. Do you have to function socially and be a effective communicator to be successful as an engineer? Yes. So what I would say is don't go into engineering or even computer science. Same thing applies to computer science, by the way. There are certain people that can just go into a black box and code. That is the exception, not the norm, in my opinion. Those are like people that are like just super rock stars that are experts at a super thing. If you want to get into an entry level career and then progress, you need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to explain your ideas, justify the reasons why you do something. You have to be able to collaborate in teams. You have to be able to, when you have a problem, approach somebody else and talk to them and talk them through your problem and get their help. You can't just sit in a corner and just struggle through things. That's not how you become a super successful engineer. So, is engineering a highly social field? I'd say it's as highly social as any other professional working environment is. Your communication skills will get you somewhere. So, if you have social anxiety, I would, first of all, I'm sorry that you're going through that, but I would maybe work with a therapist and help that work through the acknowledging that you do have social anxiety and trying to work through that and overcome that. If you have concerns about your ability to speak, I'm a huge advocate for Toastmasters. not just for the fact that you can work on prepared speeches and help being a formal presenter, but Toastmasters has this thing called table topics, where every single meeting you get asked like an elevator pitch style question, a random question, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to try to respond to it. It's great for practicing your interviews. It's also great for just practicing talking in front of people, great for thinking on the spot. If you really are nervous about your speaking skills, definitely consider joining a Toastmasters club. But yeah, I mean, it, I get the concern. I get the concern from people, and a lot of people that are really good at science and math. They think they can gravitate towards some STEM field, and they don't have to talk to people. But engineering is highly collaborative. Engineering is going to involve you, especially if you're working on a project that has bunches of different disciplines of engineering. Then you may have a project manager, and you may be interfacing with tons of different engineers with all different kinds of backgrounds, and you're going to be talking to them. Maybe the civil engineer did something that affects the structure, and they change the foundation that affects the structure, and then, or maybe the mechanical engineer, they spec a piece of equipment that weighs a certain amount, so then that affects the structure and affects the foundation that you put under that equipment. And then maybe the piping team decides to reroute a piece of pipe, and then now the electrical engineers have to reroute the way that they run their conduit. I mean, all the different disciplines impact one another when you're working on cross-discipline projects. And even within your team, you're going to be a part of a team of engineers, and you're going to have to communicate well with them. In addition, if you want to experience career progression, you may have to either grow up as an SME. And when you become an SME, that means that you are able to really effectively communicate your ideas. And even if you're not an SME, if you want to become a manager, obviously there's communication that goes along with that. So, can you have a career in engineering with social anxiety? I guess, but your your career prospects will improve, as in any other field there is, the better that you're able to communicate your ideas and advocate for yourself. So I would just start working on your social anxiety now. And I know that's, you're like, who's this guy saying just work on your social anxiety? I'm not an expert on social anxiety, but I do know people that have been afraid of speaking, and I do know people that have been afraid about talking in front of large groups of people, and then they've worked on it and they got better at it. So there's things that you can do to help improve yourself, and you recognize it. That's step one, and now it's working to help overcome it. All right. Next question: how to make the most money as possible as a civil engineer? I've interviewed for 3 weeks and I got my job offers, 5 of them, as an EIT. I figured out that there are no qualified candidates to compete against at the pay rates being offered by most companies. How do you max out your earning potential? I think I need unlimited hourly if I ever want to move out of my parents' house. All right, you want to max out your money? Be willing to work anywhere. Be willing to work crappy hours. That's how you maximize your earning potential now, if you want to do that. So go get a job at working for a construction company as a civil planner instead of as an engineer. Go work crazy hours, get per diem, and make a bunch of money. That's how you'd max it out now. But uh, no, that's not really the path for everybody. But yeah, I'd say if you want to make the most money as possible as a civil engineer, go in office, get your experience, get your PE, pass the PE exam ASAP. So get your EIT, take the PE exam. If you're structural as well, get the SE. So get those licenses under your belt, or at least the tests under your belt, so that way once you hit the right year of experience, you can get them. And then if you want to max out your money, be willing to work in the field. I mean, that's it. And then maybe work out in the field and work 11 and threes, where you work 11 days and then you take 3 days off, or 13 ones, where you work 13 days and take one out and work 10 hours a day, working overtime as a field engineer, or maybe if you're supporting turnarounds. I mean, that's how you'd max out your earning potential as quickly as possible. Now, if you want to play the long haul and you want to make a lot of money, then you work as an engineer, and then you maybe work your way into project management, where you're managing engineering projects, and maybe you're working overtime as well as a PM. And then again, find your way out to the field, support engineering projects that are getting built construction out in the field. That's how you maximize your earning potential. Or you work as a PM for a little while, and then you work as a PM for a while, and then you get put in charge of bigger and bigger scopes and bigger projects. And next thing you know it, you're a VP over a group of people that are running projects. I mean, that's in my opinion the quickest way to make as much money as possible along the way, and then make a bunch of money. But you're going to work crazy hours. It's going to take a lot of effort. And do you really want to do that? I mean, what I'd say is the other way to go is you just get a nice, cushy engineering job. You live below your means, and you just work out your career. Maybe you get a couple of promotions along the way. Jump from company to company to company to company, getting incremental raises each time you jump. And then, if you want to, next thing you look at it, you'll be 60 years old, making 180 to $250,000 as a engineering SME, and you're just having a good time. I mean, there's just so many assumptions and generalizations made here, but what I'd say is, if you want to work more hours, get into an EPC, get into a firm that's building things, and then if you want to get more money, go out and support the projects in the field and work in the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's consult the other engineers and see what they have to say. Work construction on weekends. And they say, as a tradesperson, as an engineer, tradesperson. No, I mean, depends on the type of projects. Well, you said, when I worked in construction as a PM, we were all on salary. What? So you already worked in construction and you were on salary? That's the problem. Go take a field assignment where you get per diem and you're getting paid for every single hour that you work. There are projects like that, or you get paid for every hour that you work, or close to every hour that you work. Um, yeah, if you want to make as much money as possible, just go work in the middle of nowhere on a big EPC job. And if you already worked as a PM and you're already a civil engineer, then why aren't you doing that already if you're so concerned about how much money you're making? All right. Next question. We got two more questions. Next question is, team member constantly asking for approval. I'm an engineering team lead at a manufacturing site for a project. I'm not anyone's manager, just a lead for the project. There's another female engineer on my team who's constantly asking for approval on her tasks. I'm talking about asking me to approve a memo or email before sending it. At first, I'd provide feedback, usually just fixing small errors like grammar or other small adjustments. I'd always assure her that she was doing a good job. Early on in the project, she had an error in an announcement PowerPoint that would have caused some panic from operators, but I coached her on the wording to improve it. I understand being scared to make a mistake, but most of this is low stakes and well within her experience. I did not reprimand her in any way for any mistakes she made, just provided coaching and guidance. But at this point, it's taking away from my own ability to work because it's so constant. She always needs reassurance. I almost don't care if there are mistakes because it's fixable in the long run. What do I do? Do I talk to her manager? It's overwhelming at this point, honestly. All right. What I would say is that maybe set up like a DOA with her, a delegation of authority, and just list out certain things that that she does not need your approval for. And then once she comes to you for those things, you say, "Hey, did you check the DOA?" And then she can refer to her handy dandy written out notes that say, "Hey, for these types of things, I don't need your approval." And then she says, "Oh, great. I just want you to look at it one more time." You say, "No, it's within your DOA. I don't need to sign off on that." And then that's how I would take it off your plate. And then if you have issues and she's continuing, then say, "Hey, you know what? If there's something that you still want to run by me, instead of, can you run it by your manager first and then bring it to me?" And then that way you're not necessarily talking to her manager, but you're kind of routing her through her manager, and then her manager will kind of give her that feedback that says, "Hey, you don't need to be hitting them up for questions on each of these little things." And then, even then, if she is still coming to you, then I would have the conversation with the manager and say, "Hey, I've given them coaching. I think their work is great. If they make mistake, I think they made, one mistake that really scared them, but generally I think their work is great. Can you reassure them that their work is great and that they don't need to be coming back to me for feedback on every little thing?" That's the progression that I would have, is set up the rules of authority. If she doesn't follow them, refer her into the rules of authority. And if she still doesn't follow them, then have the conversation with her manager. Let's see everybody else says. I'd have a critical conversation with them about it. Oh, this is me. I'd maybe ask why they're doing so. And if they say that because they're worried about making a mistake or whatever you tell them, basically what you've told us. If they tell you that they were told to get reviews by their manager, then I'd have a conversation with their manager. I'd be really kind about it, reassuring them that they are capable and that they can refer to their notes for repetitive type things, and that if there's something that they haven't encountered before, you'd be happy to answer questions, but that you can't be responsible for improving their entire body of work. Edit to add, maybe give her a specific list of the things you want to be able to approve, and letting her know that you don't need to approve other things beyond that would also help the situation. So the DOA that I recommended earlier. Another thing I do to push people off if they ask me to review something that they've asked before or a question that I've already answered is I'll say, sounds like X. Is this similar to X? And they say yes. You say, well, what did we look for or what did we do when we encountered X? And redirect the questions back at them to reinforce that they do have to be doing their own critical thinking and quality checking their own work product. So that's how I'd respond to that. And that's what I have to say. All right, guys. Well, I know I said I had one more question, and it looks like I have run out of time, so I'm not gonna go into the last question. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of the podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Sorry, my mouse is dancing across the screen because I'm trying to find my way to switch screens. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast as much as I have enjoyed filming it. If you have enjoyed it, please give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That's a way that I can read your 5-star reviews, and I'll actually read it out on an episode of the podcast. And if you like the videos, subscribe on YouTube, share it with somebody else you think that would like it. Oh, which reminds me, I actually do have a 5-star review to read out on the podcast. Wow, I was actually just reminded of a 5-star review that I get to read. So let me read these out real quick. I have a couple. This one was titled by the Cosby Kids, the Engineering Success Podcast. Engineering Success, Navigating the Path to Prosperity. The Engineering Success Podcast offers a compelling platform for aspiring engineers and industry newcomers. With insightful interviews featuring seasoned professionals, Daniel provides invaluable guidance and inspiration for navigating the complex world of engineering. Each episode offers a deep dive into the diverse paths and experiences of guests, shedding light on the multifaceted nature of the field. Daniel's thoughtful questions and genuine curiosity create an engaging atmosphere, making this podcast a must listen for anyone considering a career in engineering or seeking to advance within the industry. Tune in for a dose of motivation and practical insights on engineering success. Thank you so much, Cosby Kid / Alex Y, for the review. All right, next one from Drop-In CEO. This podcast takes you on a journey of engineering leadership career transitions and teases out the most amazing insights for the listeners. The content is both informative and also creates an experience that engages listeners to think about their own career journey and choice. The journey of an engineer was once thought limiting, but in this case, explores the infinite possibilities. Thank you so much, Deb Coviello. Jeremy Allen TU says, could not recommend this podcast enough for anyone looking to engineer their own success. Daniel is an engaging host that brings on great guests that make for very informative episodes. So yes, you too can get featured on the podcast with me reading out your 5-star review if you lead one. Really, it doesn't really do much other than when people are scrolling, they can see the great reviews and see if they want to listen. It doesn't really improve my reach on Apple Podcasts, but it does improve my conversion rate. So please leave me 5-star reviews on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below a question that you have for me. Comment your reaction to one of the things that I reacted to today. Your engagement with the podcast just really helps me out. All right. Well, this has been episode 60. I really appreciate you guys supporting me and listening to this episode of the podcast. And I'll catch you on the next one, hopefully with a sponsor. Thanks.